Hey YouTubers, it's Hacker, and today I'm going to go in depth about some very important BIOS features. This is going to be a two-part video, and in this part there's going to be the BIOS features which will help in overclocking, and in the second part I will show you the main overclocking features of CPU and RAM. So first we'll go into the main menu, and there is information about time and date and the SATA connections, what all you have connected to the SATA ports, and the system information. Second, there is advanced. I'm skipping AI Tweaker because, as I told you, that's going to be in another part. So in advanced, there is CPU configuration. In that you can see virtual machine mode. If you want to do virtual machine like VMware or VirtualBox in your Windows, then you have to keep this enabled. Okay, so keep in mind that this is the BIOS for M588M AMD, and there are different BIOS for different motherboards, and the features are also different. These are the basic features which will be there in every motherboard, but some overclocking features and support for other stuff will not be there for lower end motherboards and stuff. So next in this line is C1E support. So what C1E and CoolQuet, they are basically the same. So what they do is throttle the CPU frequency and voltage when not in use, like when you're idle browsing the web or like doing basically nothing, and the CPU frequency clocks down to like 800 megahertz or something, and the voltage also clocks down below 1 volt. So it will save energy, but it makes the system unstable when you're overclocking. So I suggest you keep those disabled when you're overclocking. And the Asus Core Unlocker is for CPUs of Phenom series. So I am using the FX4100. So for CPUs or like the Phenom 2, X2, 555B or 560B, and the Athlon counterparts, they had the ability to unlock them to quad core. Sometimes it was not stable, but some cores were very stable. So for that, the core unlocker is very helpful. But for the newer processors, the FX series, it's of no use. So disable it. And the CPU core activation is basically the same thing. You can choose whether you want to enable all the 4 cores or 2 cores or whatever. So next in line, come on. So next in line is chipset. So in chipset, we'll go into Northbridge configuration. So in Northbridge configuration, we'll go into DRAM controller configuration. My English is a little bit rusty. Sorry for that. And in DRAM controller configuration, we'll go into the bank interleaving. So we'll talk about bank interleaving. I'll explain it to you, and you can decide yourself what to do, but I'm going to tell you the basic things about it and what I prefer. So bank interleaving lets the banks of memory alternate their refresh and access cycles. One bank will be in refresh cycle while another is being accessed. This setting here improves performance. Since all the bank refresh cycles are staggered, setting this to interleave smooths out this process to pipeline effect. With interleaving, the first bank can start sending data to the CPU while the second bank is receiving an address from the CPU. So this speeds up the process a lot, and the refresh rate becomes very high. So setting the bank to 4 will give you a big performance improvement. So I suggest turning that to 4 bank interleave instead of auto if you have it. And then next we'll go to mode interleaving. So in mode interleaving, if the node is disabled, no SRAT will be built by the system, and ESX will be unaware of underlying physical architecture. Okay, so next we'll go to channel interleaving. In channel interleaving, higher values divide memory blocks and spread contiguous portions of data across interleaved channels, thereby increasing the potential read bandwidth as requests for data can be made to all interleaved channels in an overlapped manner. For benchmarking purposes, when we use 3 memory modules, a 4-way interleave may surpass the scoring performance of a 6-way interleave, depending on the benchmark and operating system used, like 32-bit or 64-bit OS. So if you're using more than 4 GB or even 4 GB RAM, I suggest going for 64-bit OS. And then I did find out that however, that a 6-way interleave was capable of a higher overall BC for Super Pi 32M 32 million than using a 4-way interleave setting, unless of course you are running a single or dual channel and appropriate channel interleaving, thus decreasing load upon the memory controller. So I think I hope you understood that. Hope I'm not going too fast. And then there is a bank CS sparing enabled. So I suggest leaving this disabled, as what it does is it helps us disable the RAM nodes from the BIOS, so that we don't have to remove RAM from the main board when checking for errors in RAM modules. Like if you're having some errors in the RAM, you might be getting blue screens or something, and you want to check which RAM is faulty. You don't have to open up your case, remove the RAM sticks, check every single RAM stick. So you can disable it in here and go into Windows, check one by one everything. So it you don't have to go through all the hassle, right? So it's there for that. It is disabled from the start, so leave it disabled unless you want to, check for errors. So next is bank swizzle. So in bank swizzle, the DRAM bank swizzle is a DRAM bank address mode that remaps the DRAM bank address and to appear as a physical address bit. So it does this by using the logical operation XOR, or like exclusive OR, okay, to create the bank address from the physical address bits. This effectively interleaves the memory bank and maximizes memory accesses on active rows in each memory bank. It also reduces page conflicts between cache and line fill and a cache line evict in the processor's L2 cache, or cache as most of them say. When set to enable, the memory controller will remap the DRAM bank addresses to appear as physical address bits. This improves performance by maximizing memory access on active row and minimizes page conflicts in the processor's L2 cache or cache. When set to disable, the memory controller will not remap the DRAM bank addresses. It is highly recommended that you enable this BIOS feature to improve memory throughput. It basically helps speed up the process, like bank interleaving. So turn that on. It will help you, I'm sure of that. Then there is bank, okay, powered on, right? Yeah, powered on enable. So in powered on enable, it is a power saving feature, okay, which powers down the RAM slots to a lower voltage. So what it does is uh, the same thing like C1 or coolant quiet for RAM instead of CPU. So it's of no use. It will cause you insane amount of problems because the RAM doesn't take that much of power, so there is no need to clock it down. We don't even clock down the you know what. So yeah, next is memory hole remapping. It is there for support for old hardware. I don't know why they have it, but it's best to leave it as it is. Some people have it disabled because they say it causes hangs and stuff in the system, but I suggest leaving it as it is. When you get the default BIOS without doing anything, leave it as it is. Then next we'll go into internal graphics. In internal graphics, primary video controller, like what you want from like higher to lower, so that is there. Internal graphics, this is self-explanatory to be honest. And next we have power features, suspended mode or suspend mode. So this is a pausing feature for Windows, like power management, hibernating and sleep functions and all that is controlled by the ACPI 2.0 support and ACPI APCI support. So keep it enabled. It's best for Windows, as they have said that. I read some posts. So leave it enabled. It doesn't hurt your overclocking or anything. So I have tested it and it basically makes no difference at all. And everything else is self-explanatory in this section. HW monitor is the configuration settings for your CPU speed and your voltages, etc., your fan speeds and everything else. Anti-surge support, I think it's only for Asus boards, I guess. The anti-surge and thermal protection. So keep that enabled if you have frequent power outs like I do and don't have a UPS, but I do have a UPS, but still keep that enabled. It doesn't hurt you, right? In the boot menu there is nothing, to be honest. It's all self-explanatory. Quick boot, the F1 thing, delete, everything is self-explanatory there. And in tools there is Asus EZ Flash 2. So this is a very cool feature, and it I think I want to do another part on this alone, but I can't think properly. I have already made a BIOS video on Asus a couple of years back using the Asus update tool, so I think I'll make another video on this one. I'm thinking right now, to be honest. Okay, let it be. I'll just say it, and I'll also make another video specifically about that. So what Asus EZ Flash 2 does is update your Asus motherboard BIOS by simply connecting a USB drive. So you don't have to install software and do everything in the Windows. You can just download the file from the Asus website and put it in a flash drive, or even put it in a hard drive in a proper space, proper place, and you can just browse it in the Asus C2 flash, and you can you know, update the BIOS without going with to the hassle of Windows. And it is safer, much safer than the Windows thing. So I'll make a video on that, in-depth video. The Asus overclock profiles will help you save the overclock. So you have done. There are 8 profiles in there. Might be more for higher motherboards, might be none for some older motherboards. So I think that's it for this video, and I hope you liked it. I spent a lot of time writing down everything so I can read it to you, and hope I did it quite okay, right? I did it in a much better way than I did the previous videos. So I hope you enjoyed, or learned something. I hope I helped you in finding your problems. And yeah, that's it. Be sure to check the overclocking video soon. It will be uploaded in 2 or 3 days. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Have a very nice day. Hacker signing off.